When looking at works of art, many people notice that the models depicted in them don't seem all that beautiful. Were the standards of beauty really so different? Indeed, beauty is a relative concept, and ideals have changed throughout the centuries. Let's try to trace the evolution of female beauty standards. In the Middle Ages, pale skin, so fair it resembled milky whiteness, was highly valued, as it hinted at noble birth. Darker skin, on the other hand, was a sign of lower-class origin, of someone unworthy and thus considered unattractive. In the Melun Diptyque by Jean Fouquet, we see Agnès Sorel, one of the first official royal mistresses in history. Her face, the face of the Dame de Beauté, is white as milk, but she appears to have no hair at all. Why? At that time, fashion dictated that a high, rounded forehead was the epitome of beauty. So women would shave their eyebrows and even part of their hairline to achieve this effect. Beautiful. For that era, magnificent. There was even a kind of Photoshop in the Middle Ages. Artists were paid to enhance portraits, removing scars and softening unpleasant facial features. We should also remember that artistic techniques evolved over time. Ancient artists were already quite skilled. Just look at the Fayum portraits from Roman Egypt. But during the Middle Ages, naturalistic techniques were largely forgotten, only to be rediscovered later. Portraiture itself was heavily influenced by icon painting for many centuries. In the Renaissance, the ideal was health itself. Women strove to be neither too thin nor too plump, with sloping shoulders and a slightly rounded belly. The fashion for pale skin continued. Suntanned skin was still seen as a sign of low birth. And if one did get sunburned, special bleaching remedies were used, many of which contained deadly lead. The main beauty icon of the Renaissance, Simonetta Vespucci, might seem like just an ordinary girl today. Yes, she had a delicate profile and elaborate hairstyles, but by modern standards, she would be considered simply pretty. If you look at Botticelli's paintings, Simonetta was his muse, you'll see that his beauties often have soft, rounded bellies. What women try to hide today was then considered a charming detail. By the 1470s to 1480s, a new type of female beauty appeared, the nymph. The ethereal beauty of such women was considered a reflection of virtue. This concept was inspired by Neoplatonic philosophy, popular among the Florentine elite during the time of Lorenzo the Magnificent. By the 17th century, the ideal of beauty had reached what we'd now call plus size. The Flemish painter Peter Paul Rubens never painted a skinny woman. Today we call such voluptuous beauties Rubenesque. Back then, full figures symbolized wealth, vitality, and sensuality. Rubens's nudes were the epitome of health and harmony. Women preferred luxurious and voluminous gowns with dramatic sleeves. Hairstyles were also elaborate. Wool or hair padding was added for volume, curls were styled with hot irons, and hair was decorated with ornaments. Many portraits from that period could be called portraits of a dress rather than of a person. A century after Rubens, fashion took a turn toward youth, playfulness, and slim waists. Rouge, tight corsets, and curved heels became the essentials of beauty. Outfits looked like pastries topped with whipped cream and roses. And beneath all that decoration were true coquettes, who saw naturalness as synonymous with ugliness. Modesty was mocked. If a lady was shy, it meant she had nothing to show off. Women were eager to flaunt their charms, and beauty contests among the nobility were common, where ladies shamelessly lifted their skirts and loosened their bodices. In the Rococo era, gender boundaries blurred. Men's fashion became increasingly similar to women's. The warrior ideal gave way to the refined cavalier. Rococo ideals of beauty are vividly reflected in the portraits of François Boucher and Jean-Honoré Fragonard. At the turn of the 18th and 19th centuries, something remarkable happened. Women abandoned the cruel but once indispensable corset. Inspired by ancient ideals, they embraced the natural freedom of the human body. After all, classical women could never imagine clothing that crushed their ribs. Thus, the contemporaries of Napoleon fell in love with women who were literally liberated from the tyranny of fashion. Europe was gripped by an antique fever. The rediscovery of Pompeii and Herculaneum fueled an aesthetic revival, further shaped by the writings of German art historian Johann Joachim Winckelmann. Women resembled ancient statues, miraculously transported from antiquity into the modern world, wrote German author Caroline von der Motte Fouquet. This was the era of naked fashion, known as à la sauvage, wild style, or neoclassical. The look emphasized natural grace and the shape of the bust. For those not blessed with curves, artificial breasts made of wax or leather, with painted veins and even spring mechanisms to simulate breathing, became fashionable luxury items. Women wore their hair à la grecque, in the Greek style, with braided sandals, cameos, and bracelets. Bare shoulders, low necklines, and the absence of corsets stood in sharp contrast to the heavily structured fashions of earlier times. In the 20th century, full busts, narrow waists, and curvy hips became fashionable again. Think Marilyn Monroe, the ultimate symbol of femininity. But progress had its say. While some women still laced up corsets, one designer decided enough was enough. Paul Poiret revolutionized women's fashion by creating dresses that fit freely, like men's shirts, flowing and comfortable. Then came World War, forcing women to trade beauty for practicality, and even after the war, the old ideals didn't return. The era of the Great Gatsby introduced a new kind of femininity, playful, bold, and modern. The curvy hourglass silhouette gave way to the androgynous flapper, flat-chested, short-haired, and free-spirited. To flatten their chests, women wore restrictive undergarments and chose straight-cut dresses that concealed the body's curves. Short skirts made dancing far easier than ever before. And as for the beauty ideal of the 21st century, let's think about that together in the comments. Thank you for watching to the end. Like and don't forget to subscribe.